So hello there. Now I've jumped ahead a bit this week. I'm still making slippers, but I'm going to keep this on the server for a while so that I've got a backup video because yeah, the videos are already out, so I'm just a bit behind. But I wanted to do this one because of it's a request. Now, for those of you that have not seen the other videos of slippers, for the bottom I'm using table protector. This is it's got a bit of grip to it, and obviously it'll give your feet some warmth and protection. So I've done the right slipper and we're going to do the left slipper. So let's discuss patterns. This is the pattern for the jesters. Now it's for a child, this one, so I do need to cut it down slightly. But what I also wanted to do is I wanted to higher it up a bit, so I need to trim that bit off. Of course I don't need the jester's toes, so I can trim that bit off and I can trim that bit off, and I know to cut about there to keep that level. So I've done my pieces here. I've got my outside, which is the lovely zebra fleece, and I'm using fleece for the lining as well. For my panels up the side, I have the zebra print for the outside and a longer piece so that I can fold this over, so that when that's sewn that'll just flop over. And of course I've got my ears. So there's all the patterns in a pile. That's the top, the ears, the base and the side panels. I do need to just cut out a piece for my lining. So now I need to make sure that I am using the left, so I can trim this off a bit, so I don't want it too big. Now the machine's all set up. It's set up on quite a long stitch. You don't need a small stitch. It needs to be durable, but it doesn't need to be completely, yeah, it doesn't need to be like super strength or anything. So here we go. Now when you're cutting these pieces, you need it to be from the point at the back, and then you need to sew around, and then you need to sew so it's halfway through. So I've given myself a little bit of an extra seam allowance, so I will trim, and you will notice that this is slightly longer than this side, and it is just slightly, so tiny amount. So I'm going to start sewing. What I've got is the right side to the right side, and I'm not going to sew this little bit. I'm going to leave that as a little hem allowance. And I'm starting off with it straight at the back so that it's supposed to curve down, so it's supposed to stand up. So, and you literally grab hold of the bottom and swing it round and keep the top in the right place. Now we're coming up to the curb of the toe, so I'm going to pull the zebra over, and I'm going to make sure that I keep my fingers on the base so that I can sort of tease it round, and I'm going to make sure that I stop halfway. Now the fleece is very stretchy, so you've got to be careful not to stretch it, and obviously the lining at the bottom, the table liner, is not stretchy, so we want it all to add up in the end, although I am quite happy to trim. So we're on the next bit. I need to leave a good hem allowance, and I need to sew this as close to there as I can without going over it. I don't want a lump or a bump. I'm going to come forward and then I'm going to reverse, so that, because I haven't got a a lot of space. I find it easier to get it in the right position and then twiddle it. So. And of course I'm still sewing right side to right side because I'm going to turn this all inside out. There we go, we're just coming up to the toe, so I'm letting it curve round. Obviously I don't want to get anything caught, so I'll rejoin the stitches there. And there we are. To the middle, so stitch up to there and give it a couple of reverse stitches just to hold it in place. So that's that. I'm going to sew my ears now so that they're done, because I won't need them till later, but I will need them. Now the inside of my ears should be slightly smaller than the outside of my ears, so I'm going to start off sewing like that, and then I'm just going to ease it over. So now I've got right side to right side again. And I am sewing quite near to the edge. And I'm just coming to the point now, the point of the ear. And I'm just going to push that over slightly so that it's got a little bit of a fold. Come off again. There we are. Honestly, I haven't sewn for a week and I think I've forgotten. So I don't need to cut them off. This caught up. It's not something that would bother me, but if it bothers you, then don't take it. Just make sure you've got all your old threads around. I must admit, one of the machines I had, you had to be really careful with these loose threads because it used to wrap around the motor. I don't know why the motor was down, because most motors are up there, but it just depends really. Depends on you. I'm not particularly worried because of the speed of making the video. Okay, so this is pretty much the same as sewing the sole onto the foot. We're now sewing the lining. So I need to start at the back, give myself a little bit of a seam allowance, and then follow it through. Now the only difference with this pattern is it's slightly smaller than the zebra and the thermal lining. But the principles are still the same. You just curve it round, try not to stretch it, and let the machine do the sewing. Okay, so come to the middle now, and I'm just going to do a couple of reverse stitches for my own benefit. I don't think this would come unravelled, but even so. So I'm just coming up to the back again, giving myself a little hem allowance, so these will meet like a triangle, and then I will sew there. And what I'm doing is I'm placing the foot where I want to start from sewing, coming forward and then reversing back over, so that I actually stitch it 3 times, but it's so that I can precisely put the start position in. Now when I was sewing the zebra, I had a lot of problems with it sort of folding up into the foot, so, and it's doing it again on the lining. need to be sewn together. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this top as the turning around point, because that's going to be the least uncomfortable place. Because if I did it at the bottom or anything else like that, then it would all be a bit uncomfortable. But I do need to sew the back of the seam. So this is literally the heel of the foot, and I need to just run a couple of stitches along there. There we are. And what I'm going to do to make myself life easier for myself is I'm going to put 3 or 4 stitches just at the top there. Now this is the opening that I'm going to leave for turning the inside out. But I am going to put those stitches there because it's going to make the lining so much more easy to put in. So this is the lining with the fold over, so it's slightly bigger, and I need to sew it just around the outside here. Now I've got the fold at the back, sorry, that's what I was thinking about. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the back so the fold is still at the back. So there we are. Now what it was just complaining about, because I was catching the corner seam there, but I was deliberately catching the corner seam, so now you just need to twizzle this round. I'm just coming to the top now of the slipper, and then I'm just coming to those few stitches. So I've got a few more layers than otherwise, and now I'm just going flat again. So this pretty much is the lining done. I don't know, can you see it taking shape? This will need a trim, but there we go. We've got the start of the boot, and we can sew that up now or we can wait. It's entirely up to us. It might be better to wait. So I'm going to go back onto the slipper now. This is the outside, and I need to sew up my heel, the same as I did with my lining. So I need to make sure that I've got both my hem allowances, and I'm sewing up to the lining there. So I suppose the idea is you put one stitch in the lining, put one stitch in the sole, but no more than that. So there we are, we're on the sole. And now we're just coming off, so, and I don't need to reverse stitch because I was pretty much stationary stitching just there. Lovely. And the same again, I am going to just trim those so that they're equal, and I'm going to sew this completely because I don't need to turn this inside out from here. I only need one turny roundy insidey outy hole thing. So let's keep those together. Sewing down to meet the sole, so we've pretty much got a triangle here. I'm all caught up with my stitches and threads at the back, so got a spare bit of thread there. I'm going to get rid of it, and I'm going to pull that through. So what we need to do now is we need to sew the top bit on. So we can turn this inside out. Because with all sewing it's going to be right side to right side. So, and we're going to start at the back because we've started at the back on everything else. So it needs to, they need to match up, they really do. And if that's only, although we're not pattern matching, we're trying to pattern match the stripes, which you could, I think that would be too difficult. So I don't think you can see very well. I'm literally sewing the top of the shoe to the leg part. I'm just coming over to the seams of the top of the shoe, this part here. So I'm flattening them out so that I've got one each side. And I'm now pulling the shoe round. My threads caught up again. You're supposed to pull it out the back so that you can see, but obviously that's not working for me again. Pull that off there and get rid of the excess. Yeah, I think the expression more haste, less speed is a good one. So hopefully I can get this first time. Sometimes it takes me ages to thread a needle. It really does. And then I panic because I know that the camera's going. So here we are with the one we're just sewing. Now what I've done is when I went over this seam here, I pushed the flaps either side flat. So, and there we are. That's us up to date. I could have turned that round a bit better. And then we'll sew this to this. But what we do need to do is we need to sew in the ears. So I'm just going to turn these inside out. I'm not going to trim them at all because of if they've got a little bit of extra fluff on the folds, then it'll give them a bit more depth. And then when I sew them in, I will sew them in so that they're folded over like that. Put that there, get rid of them, put this here. But what I will do is, if you've got a pair of blunt-ended scissors, is just push the point out, so, and then try and keep them the same length, so, yes, there we go. And if you want, you can trim them. Just so that you've got rid of those hem allowances because they're quite bristly. So what we need to do now is I'm turning it inside out again. And this is still inside out. And I need to sew the long bit along there. So I'm going to pull the toes out so that we don't put them left to right, but lovely. So this is just the back of the boot here that I'm sewing along. The back of the other boot as well. sure you can hear the difference in the noise. It's just, it'll make it more secure. So lovely. I'm going to get rid of this. I did know when I cut it that I sort of guesstimated the size. I quite often do that. You can either make your patterns correct and not have to, well, even then you can still correct when it's sewing. But what I do is I'm kind of quite generous with myself, so that if I have any problems, I've got that just extra bit, because I didn't bother cutting it at the time. I just cut to the material. Now what I'm doing is I'm just grabbing a couple of pins. I have a pot in that drawer, very untidy drawer, and this is more to remind me to sew the ears in, because I've done that before, especially when the camera is running. I kind of sew for all your life is worth. So I'm just going to mark the point where I'd like the ears to be. And what I'll do is I'm not going to bother stretching the fabric round, but I am going to mark the point on the opposite side, sorry, you can't see, of the fabric. So a couple of needles there. I'm going to start on the far side of this seam, so I can do this seam flat first of all. So what I've done is I've just kicked out both of those. That's to make it lie as flush as we can. Even so, we are sewing over a lot of cloth, and the machine is going to go dun 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 dun. Okay. Yeah, nearly. What we're going to do is we're going to turn it back round, inside out, so that the seams will be on the inside. And that's fine. Is it? Oh, sorry, we're just turning it all inside out so that everything's the right way around. It doesn't really matter if the lining is on the wrong side, if you've got bit inside out on the lining. So here we go. I'm going to sew over the seam first of all, and I'm sewing right side to right side. I'm going to use the machine as a third foot, and I'm going to put a pin in where I'm going to want to put my ears in. So just as a sort of remembrall. Now it's not going to be happy going over this many seams. Should be a bit. But when you're sewing soft toys, or you know, even children's clothes, and there is a lot of little fiddly bits, one of the things you have to watch is that you don't let the garment push it out of the feet. What I mean is that you don't let it sort of fight its way out. Now I'm turning the ears so that I've got them like that. And I need my ears so that the lining is facing the zebra stripes. And I'm pulling the zebra cloth over the ears. And what I'm going to do is from behind, I'm going to give the good almighty tug so that it does continue sewing. Because when you're sewing that thick of fabric, what can happen is your feet then lift up, and then that will disengage your bobbin tension. So it's always a good thing just to get it done. And this is a standard needle. I could have used a sharp needle. I could have used a stronger needle like a jeans needle, but I'm in fact just going to use a standard needle, and if it breaks, it breaks. There we are. I'm coming up to where I want to put the other ear. Right. It's all twisty. There we are. And when you're doing something this fiddly, then it is a case of you will do an inch at a time and then adjust your cloth. So lovely. Now I need the lining on the inside. I'm reminding myself, I'm not reminding you. And what I'm going to do is just tuck that out the way and tuck this out the way. So I'm literally pushing it all in there so that I can see what I'm going to sew, really. Okay, that's grand. And the ear. I've got bits sticking out so I know I'm sewing it. What I'd probably do is check it as well, that I've caught it on both sides. And it's really a personality thing, isn't it? What I'm going to do is check that I've sewn it, and if I haven't, then I'm just going to sew it. I don't see any problems with that. We're nearly up to the moment of truth, really. So we get to turn it all inside out, or right side round. It's a slipper for an elephant. Yeah. Let's just get it untucked. So there's the sole. And luckily the lining foot, or hopefully the lining foot, should face the same way. And we have a hole here where we're going to pull everything through. So, lovely. Now I know I didn't turn my boot inside out when I sewed the lining to it, but you just have to forgive me. Because I have to show you something. I did it on that one as well. So they match. Okay, now the lining comes up probably at about an inch, and we have to sew the toes together and then push it all through. So this won't take a second. We don't need to worry about well, what I'll probably do is tidy it up, but there we are. So nearly out of bobbin thread. I mean, literally, if I had to sew like one ear on or something, I'd probably run out. There we are. So just going to push it all together. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm just pushing the lining into the shoe. So there we are. We have, hopefully, a left slipper and a right slipper. Now you could put fun fur eyes on there or anything. I just thought they'd be a bit uncomfortable. What I'll probably do is just do maybe a little bit of embroidery for eyes, or maybe get some wobbly eyes. I think that would look very good. So there we are. 2 zebra booties. Alright, well thank you for taking the time to watch it. It's been a pleasure to sew them, and I hope to catch you again. Thank you ever so much.